Fire Girl and the Evergreen. There was once a girl whose flame rose too early. It lived under her ribs, straight as a blade, refusing to cool, no matter how still she stood. When she was very small, the flame had felt like a secret friend. It kept her awake at night, glowing in the dark of her chest, whispering that she was more than anyone saw. As she grew, it stopped feeling like a friend and started feeling like trouble. People told her to calm down, to soften, to wait. They frowned when her words came out too sharp. They sighed when her eyes burned too bright. They praised her only when she swallowed the heat and let it acid her throat. She whispered once, quiet but unbreakable, "It burns even when I'm trying." No one answered that sentence. They only told her to try harder. So the flame learned something early. It would not be understood by people who wanted her small. One winter afternoon, when the snow had thinned into dark, wet earth, she walked into the forest alone. She did not slam the door. She did not shout. Her anger was not loud. It was focused. The soil steamed lightly under her steps. Small threads of mist rose where her boots pressed down, as if the ground were exhaling around her. The sky was a flat gray lid. The trees stood like tall, listening ribs. She walked without a plan, just away from rooms that told her to dim, away from faces that flinched from her heat. The forest did not flinch. It took her in. She moved down a small slope, hands in her pockets, jaw tight. Halfway down, she stopped. A young evergreen stood apart from the other trees, not much taller than she was, narrow, dark, unbent. Snow clung to the older trunks around it, but its own needles shook free, as if it refused to carry what did not belong to it. She felt a small tightening in her ribs. The flame straightened, like someone standing to attention. She walked up to the tree. Its needles bristled, not in fear, but in recognition. The air between them warmed. She reached out and touched one branch. The needles trembled, but they did not bend. "You're as stubborn as I am," she said. The tree made a low, nearly inaudible sound, like pressure shifting inside wood. A vertical sound. A standing sound. She frowned. "Are you talking?" Silence. Only the faint, steady strain of a trunk that had endured many storms. Her flame pushed higher, curious. For a moment she wanted to shake the tree, to force it to answer, to make something in the world admit that it could feel her. Instead, she pulled her hand back. "Fine," she muttered. "You don't have to answer either." She turned away, but the feeling of being seen without shrinking stayed between her ribs like a small hot stone. She walked on. The forest thickened. The trees leaned closer. The light thinned into a kind of grey hush. She thought of all the times she had tried to cool herself, counting to 10, breathing deep, folding her hands so tightly her nails made half moons in her palms. The flame never really listened. It only hid. It waited. She was tired of waiting. After a long time, she reached a clearing. 2 paths cut through it, thin and hard and sure of themselves. One to the left, one to the right. The forest around the clearing held its breath. This was a place that had seen many feet. The paths were worn, packed by choices made by people who did not burn as she did. She stood at the center of the crossing. Her ribs felt too small. Her shoulders ached with holding herself in. A sound behind her. She turned. The same evergreen stood at the edge of the clearing, rooted, still, as if it had always meant to meet her here. Snow dusted its lower branches. Its top reached just above her head. Its needles were bright with a thin film of meltwater, catching what little light the sky offered. "How did you get here?" she wanted to ask. But it was a tree. Trees did not move. Everyone knew that. Her flame did not agree. It flared, recognizing a kind of stubborn kinship. She stared at the left-hand path. It was narrow and pale. The air there was sharp and clean in the wrong way, the way of scrubbed floors and tight voices. She could almost hear the words that lived down that road. Be good. Be nice. Don't make trouble. Don't be so much. Cold wind brushed her face. The flame under her ribs hunched in on itself, tightening, trying not to go out. She turned to the evergreen. "If I go there," she said, "I'll vanish." The evergreen's trunk gave a slow, resonant creak. Its roots pressed deeper into the thawing soil. A low voice came from the center of its wood, not a human voice, but shaped enough for her to hear. "Quiet is not your way." The words hit her like a hand on her shoulder. Her throat closed. "Everyone says it should be," she said. "Everyone says I'm too much." The evergreen's needles stiffened. Drops of water fell from their tips like tiny, deliberate nods. "They do not carry your fire," the tree said. "They do not know its weight." Her eyes burned, not with tears, with recognition. She turned to the right-hand path. It was darker. The branches on either side leaned close and tangled. The ground looked wounded, ruts and scars and broken roots. The air there was thick. Her flame surged at it, eager, reckless, ready to burn its way through. She could hear the words that lived down that road too. "Fine, then I'll burn it all. Then nothing will be left to hurt me." "This one feels like me," she said. Her voice was rough. "But it burns everything." The evergreen answered without softness. "Fire without aim destroys." She rounded on the tree. "So which is it then?" she demanded. "Be quiet and vanish, or burn it all and be a monster?" The forest flinched around her tone. Small clumps of snow slipped from branches. A crow somewhere in the distance took flight. The evergreen did not move. You're asking the wrong question, it said. Her hands balled into fists. No, I'm not. Those are the choices. Those are always the choices. The tree's trunk tightened. Old storm marks along its bark seemed to deepen. Those are the paths they built, it said, not the ones you must walk. She stepped closer. Her breath clouded between them, then cleared in the heat. Then what do I do? Her voice cracked on the last word. Not with tears, but with pressure. For a long moment the evergreen was silent. The whole forest seemed to balance on that pause. Then, from deep within its wood, words rose slow and exact. Choose direction, not permission. She stared at it. Direction. The word sparked in her chest. Different from rule. Different from permission. Something that belonged to her. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She looked down at her hand. In her palm lay the ember she had picked up that morning, without really thinking. A small blackened coal from an old fire pit near her house. She had turned it over idly as she walked, feeling an odd familiarity in its weight. Now in the clearing she saw the faint red pulse at its center. It was her own heat, in another form. A piece of some earlier burning, another day when her flame had surged against a world too narrow to hold it. She closed her fingers around it. The ember warmed instantly, as if relieved to be recognized. She held it against her chest. Show me how to burn without breaking myself, she said. This time she was not whispering. The ember answered with heat, steady and deep. A thin thread of smoke rose between her fingers, straight as a spine. The evergreen's needles softened, their hard edges easing. A drop of meltwater slid down its trunk like a slow tear, then sank into the earth. Its voice came again, lower now. Step where no one has stepped. The flame under her ribs lifted, not wild, not tame, simply willing. She looked once more at the left-hand path. It no longer felt tempting, it felt hollow. She looked at the right-hand path. It no longer felt like her only defense. It felt tired. She drew in one long breath. The ember beat in her hand, in time with her heart. Then Fire Girl moved. She did not choose left. She did not choose right. She stepped straight ahead, into the undergrowth where there was no path. The first step caught on a hidden root. She stumbled. Her flame flared with the old urge to lash out. She tightened her grip on the ember instead. No, she told it. Not that way. The heat settled, still fierce, but aligned with the direction of her foot. The second step tore her sleeve on a low branch. A thin line of fabric hung loose. Her jaw clenched. She wanted to snap the branch off to show the forest it could not scratch her without consequence. The evergreen's voice reached her from behind, almost too faint to hear. Aim. She exhaled. She let the branch be. She moved around it. With every step the forest grew thicker, but something inside her grew clearer. The ember brightened with her heartbeat, not flaring, not scorching, just matching her, just keeping pace. Behind her, At the edge of the clearing, the evergreen held its place. It felt her moving away, felt the line of her direction carving itself through unbroken ground. This was what it had been waiting for since it first sensed her flame years ago, the day the burning child would refuse both old roads and cut a third with her own heat. The other trees did not understand. They only felt a new path beginning, too subtle to see, but strong enough to shift the way roots would grow. The evergreen knew. Some children cannot live on the paths the world lays down. Their fire will refuse it. Their fire will turn against them until they turn it outward, not to destroy, but to make new ground. As Fire Girl moved deeper into the forest, the air around her changed. It was still cold. The sky was still gray, the branches still scratched. But inside her the flame moved from thrashing to pointing. A line formed where there had been only heat. The evergreen felt the echo of that line all the way down its trunk and into its oldest roots. A flame finally choosing direction over permission. The clearing slowly exhaled. Snow dropped from a high branch. A crow settled again. The wind remembered itself. And far within the forest, a girl with fire in her ribs walked on, not smaller, not safer, but truer. Her ember bright, her step deliberate, her path her own.